Okay, this is the worksheet 6A for the Math 4 course. And in this exercise, we're going to be comparing Pixar and DreamWorks as movie production companies. And yes, I realize they're now owned by the same people, but still they're functioning separately. And so we're going to look at some of the movies that they've made over the last 25 years and, ask the question, which one is better? And of course, it depends on your definition of better. And that's what we're going to look at, some ways of comparing the two. Now, you were given 3 files here. You were given the video, which actually kind of flashes back and forth between Pixar and DreamWorks films. And quite honestly, they didn't spell out which one was which. And the quality there seemed to be, well, and you have movies that are made at differing levels of quality. I think back to the one Chicken Run, that almost looked like claymation, stop movement photography. But it wasn't, it was CGI, but it was, designed that way. Whereas you've got some of the more modern ones that, look really, really realistic. And, it's all a part of the mood that the movie wants to set for the viewer. But anyway, so you had 2 other files. You had the raw data, which actually looks more like a spreadsheet. And then you have the CODAP file, which will allow us to start comparing some of the things, 2 and 3 at a time. Now, I want to be honest with you, the raw data, the only thing that you were going to use that for was comparison 4, which I told you not to do. So I just wanted to take a moment to switch over. This is what the raw data looked like, as far as, looking at it like it was a spreadsheet or something. I'm going to shrink that, and that's what the file looked like in the upper corner, is that it's just an Excel spreadsheet done up as a Google Sheets doc. Now, at the same time, you have the Pixar, which is right here. I guess I'm going to have to do that kind of shrunk down, and I'm going to have to slide it back and forth so that we can see our notes. So the only thing that's missing here that we need is a graph. I'm going to open up a graph, and the graph's got nothing to it. I'm going to park the graph right there. Now let's go to our notes and see what our first task is going to be. Title to the X, an average critical review to the Y. All right. So title is going to go to the X, and I love this because it is such a small. It does like the first 20 or so, and then all the rest of them are stacked up there on the right. Now, we'll fix that when we stretch it out some more. But the other thing that we had to get, well, I guess I need to move my cases, was average critical was over here, and that's going to be my y-axis. And so now we get a sense of, the critical. Now I can stretch this baby out like that. And now we can see all of them. So you can see all of the, some of the average critical between the Rotten Tomatoes and the Metacritic. This was the average of those two. So, that's not a bad number to look at. And, some of them were up in 90s, and some were down in the 50s and 60s. So now, we're really only talking about 2 companies. We're talking about, DreamWorks and Pixar. So I'm going to go here and grab franchise, which is either DreamWorks or Pixar, and I'm going to drop it in the middle. And that's going to color the points according to the franchise. Now, when I move that back up here, now we begin to notice something. That other than a little blip here with Cars 2 and Cars 3, which they didn't do so well, most of the purples are up at the top, and a lot of the yellows are down at the bottom. So that tells us that critically, Pixar usually banged out a home run with their movies, more so than DreamWorks did. Now, that's one thing to consider. So let's go back to the notes. And so screenshot the results below. So let's go back there. And I have the ability, well, that's right, I have to check. No, that's right, I can't do that in the middle of a movie like this. I'll tell you what, I will try Control S. Nope. Control Shift S. Is that screenshot? Let's see what happens when I paste here. Nope. Nope, that wasn't it either. Well, trying to figure out how to do this while I'm recording. That's the issue, is that while I'm recording, I am taking up certain things which normally my clip and paste, but I'm using the same software. I've not run into this before. But in any case, this would be the screenshot that you would want for the first one. Is to show all of the movies and then show all the ratings. And you would see all the purple at the top and all the yellow at the bottom, which basically tells you the critics thought that Pixar put out better movies. All right, we'll move on then. I'll have to come back and screenshot this after the fact. Well, I guess this will do as a movie. Now we're going to leave the title on x-axis, but we're going to drag franchise y-axis. No, that's not going to tell us the frequency of the films. I'm going to have to go back and change that, because what we need to do excuse me, not frequency, but year of release. That will tell us how often well, let me do it the way that they said it. Well, I guess that does tell you the frequency of release, because you can see here that Pixar just simply did not release that many. You probably have possibly twice as many DreamWorks as you do Pixar. So this does make a statement about the frequency of it. Now let's see what the notes asked for. Screenshot the results below. So this would be the next screenshot that you would want to make, is the purples and the yellow dots right there. And again, you're going to have to stretch it pretty much across the screen like this to get everybody involved in it. Otherwise, you wind up with them bunching up on the right. So, oops, that's not what I wanted to do. Come on. Come to Papa. There we go. Well, maybe I dragged it a little bit too far. Just a little bit more. Okay. So that's our second comparison that we're looking at. And you'll screenshot that and put that in that blank right there. Now, budget versus revenues. That's always an interesting comparison. How much did they budget versus how much did they actually bring in when they put the thing on the market. So we're going to drop down here and we're going to put budget over on, the y-axis, and worldwide box on the x-axis. Now I've still got them colored purple for Pixar and yellow for DreamWorks. And so what this is telling you right away, why are all the purples up here at the top? Because they had bigger budgets. But then when you look over here on the right side, why do I have so many purples on the right side? Because they grossed so much more. Now I do want to make a comment about the x and the y axis. These numbers down here are 200 million, 400 million. Whereas over here, the budget is 20 million, 40 million, 60 million. So it's like one decimal place off. This may be 200 million, but that's only 20 million. So for a $20 million budget, they brought in 200 million. Here was one where their budget was 30 million, but they brought in 200 million. That's not bad. They were certainly making some money. But then you go up here, let's find somebody that's easy to identify. All right, that would be, that'd be $1 billion? Yeah. Doesn't even tell us which, well, if we click on it, we can see who showed up in green. There it is. That was Finding Dory. That had, I think we're missing a decimal place there. Let's stretch this column a little bit out there. 889,570. Yeah, that's 1.028 billion for Finding Dory. So, we're still looking around at some of these different movies, and you can click on the dot and figure out who the movie was. It does have a release date, so that should help some. But like I said, well, let's see who the big gun was. They grossed over 1.2 billion, and they had a budget of over 200 million. Who is that animal? Come on. Click on him again. The Incredibles 2? Really? 359,805. Yeah, $1.2 billion worldwide. I haven't even seen that one. I guess I'll have to go watch it. Since it made so much money, it ought to be worth something. Oh, all right, so we'll bring this guy back up. And this is going to be your third screenshot for comparison number 3. You're going to screenshot this guy and put him in the blank space there. Now, at this point, I think, I told you that you could skip comparison 4, because that was going to ask you to make a box and whiskers that was from hell. I was asking you would have to line up all of the data points. And we're talking about profits, which were usually in 9 figures, hundreds of millions of dollars. And you would have like 30 of them you'd have to line up in order to create this. And I'm not going to do that to you. I'm really not. So we get to the conclusion. In the space below, you had to type a 150-word defense of which company is better. And I asked you to include the numbers you discovered above as part of your defense. And so you would look at the different data sets, and you would click on a dot here and there if you needed a specific number. But just talk about which one you think wins the race and why. Because DreamWorks made a lot more, but Pixar did not make as many. But the ones that they made, were better in several ways. So does that make Pixar better than DreamWorks? You defend it with 150 words. I guess you're not having a journal this week, but this is the moral equivalent. So look at the data, look at comparisons 1, 2, and 3, and give me a conclusion here on why you think one company is better than the other.